Hi, welcome to another episode of the Out of Office Club. As you can see, I have moved again, at least if you're watching this on YouTube. Like I said last week, that was actually my last week in Bangkok, and I am now in Hong Kong. I got here only 2 days ago, so I haven't seen that much yet. I walked around quite a bit where my accommodation is, but I haven't seen that much yet. But so far, I am really liking it. It is quite busy. It's a bit, I don't want to say more chaotic, but it feels a bit more chaotic and rough than Bangkok is. But that might also have something to do with the area I was in Bangkok. But right now I'm in a co-working space because I have a lot of work to do and I wanted to record. So I'm in a co-working space. Yeah, flight here, everything kind of went all right. I left Saturday morning. I did stay out Friday evening because it was my last night in Bangkok. So saw some friends, went out for some drinks, and then a very late 2 a.m. dinner, which was nice. So I got back, packed the last things, and then I had to get up at 6 to get to the airport and then fly here, which was only a 2-hour flight. And then I took a taxi to the city. So it's been very relaxing. I do miss Bangkok though. I really enjoyed it there. So it's always sad to leave, but I also can't complain because I'm in Hong Kong, and so far it's been really good. Today, I wanted to talk about the difference between remote work versus working for yourself. I feel like this is a topic or something that gets mixed up a bit, and I've done that as well, and that gets people a bit confused about what I actually do. And I know a lot of people are doubting between the two. Should I work remote? Should I work for myself? What is best if I want to travel, if I want to be a digital nomad? What should I do? What is best for me? What are the differences? What should I consider when deciding? So that is what I want to talk about today. I think it's very valuable if you're not sure yet on what is best for you and what fits you. I'm just going to give you my ideas of both, the pros and cons. Of course, I have done a bit of both, although I've mainly worked for myself, but it's still, I think, I can still tell you how I view it. And also because I've met so many other digital nomads and everyone does this differently. So I just think it's good to talk about, good to know the difference and decide for yourself which one is best for you before you go and start your life as a digital nomad. So I hope that with the light and everything, this works on video, and I hope that the audio is okay because they do have like a big AC here that is quite noisy, which I'm sure this microphone picks up on. So I'm going to do my very best in post editing, okay? But I'm not the best at editing, which is sad to say after months of doing this, but I am not. Anyways, so as you know, if you've been listening to this podcast, you know that I work for myself. I am self-employed, basically. I have my own company. I work as a freelancer. I have worked in marketing and I'm now a graphic designer, which means I work completely remote and for myself. So what exactly is the difference then between that and remote work? So in both cases, whether you work remotely or whether you work for yourself, you work remote. And I think that's also where the confusion a bit comes from. But remote work, in essence, means that you are employed somewhere by a company, but you work for that company remotely. You still have, let's say, a boss or a manager, deadlines. There's, certain hours that you might have to be online, or you might even have to go back to the office every once in a while and be on a location. So it's of course different than an office job, but you still have that more office dynamic or structure, let's say, of a business. But you just do it remotely, which has a lot of pros, also a couple cons, I would say. While, of course, working for yourself means no bosses, no managers. You generally just have projects or clients that you work with or for. And that means that you manage your own time. You also work completely remote, but you generally don't have to be or go anywhere, especially if the work that you've chosen or the work that you do can be done completely remote. Then there's no location for you to go to. Generally, deadlines are more flexible because you set them yourself or with the client. You don't have any locations, again, that you have to go to. It's just a bit more free, I would say. So those are the main things. You either work basically still for a company, but remotely, or you work completely for yourself, which means you're in charge of your hours, your work, but also your income. So what that means in terms of freedom, as I think you can already guess, working for yourself does allow you to have a lot more freedom. When you work for a company, so when you work remotely, regardless of how you see it, you're likely still tied to certain hours that you have to do. And I see that a lot with people that I've met. They are digital nomads, they travel a lot and they make it work, of course, and it's a good option, which I'll get to later. But you don't have the same freedom. They still have to be online for a certain amount of hours that they can distribute throughout the day however they like it. Let's say they have to work every day for 8 hours. It doesn't really matter when they start, when they finish, as long as they do the 8 hours. That is one option. But also for a lot of people, it means that between a certain time, they have to be online. So if I would say, at 3 p.m. I really want to go and play paddle, they would say, I cannot because I have to be online. Or that means I would have to leave work early and then play paddle and then still go back online. And it's just a bit more, they're less flexible, let's say. So I think for the freedom part, it definitely gives you a bit less freedom if you work remotely than when you work for yourself. My hours are completely my own. No one tells me how much I have to work, when I have to work, when I have to be online. It doesn't really matter. Like, for example, I work most Sunday evenings just because generally I don't have much to do then. Many people are tired or hungover and there's not much happening, so I work on Sunday evening. This morning I didn't start working till 11, but now I'll also probably work till late and then not work so much tomorrow morning. It's just I have more control over my time if I compare it to someone who is employed but works remote. So I think that is, in terms of the freedom part, that is the main difference. Of course, something that you also need to consider is not just the freedom, but also the security. If you are employed, you have a lot more security. You will get your monthly income regardless of what happens. You just work and you get your salary at the end of the month. It's likely fixed. It's a sure thing. You have your contract and it's kind of set. While, of course, being self-employed, my income is not set. It all depends on how hard I work. Sometimes you have to be lucky, how much marketing and sales I do, how much effort I put in. The more effort I put in, the more I get out of it. Although sometimes those are not even that equal. Sometimes you put in a lot of effort and you don't see that much result at the end of the month. Sometimes the other way. But in general, of course, when you're self-employed, it's just not as fixed, as secure. I would say that is, I think, the main reason why people choose for a remote job, just because it is more secure and gives you a lot less stress, while being self-employed gives you more freedom but also more stress. So I think when you talk about stress, it looks a bit different from the remote job perspective. I think you're more stressed because you might get a bit more pushed from bosses, from your boss or your manager. There's more influences, there's more people to kind of listen to and please and work together with. While since I'm self-employed and I work for myself, the stress is different. I stress more about getting clients and the money side, I think, than I do about the work itself, because I get to decide my own time and hours and deadlines. That is generally quite relaxed. I just work as much as I can and I try and finish things on time. And if I don't, it's not so much of a issue generally. And then let me see, because of course, hearing all of this, I guess it makes sense. It's something that you've probably already kind of knew. Okay, I can work remote, or I can work for myself. But how do you then decide which one is right for you? Because I think that's the main thing. I honestly think both can be great if you want to be a digital nomad. I don't think one is necessarily better than the other. Of course, I have my own personal preference, obviously, but there isn't, one is not better than the other, and they're both still really good options if you want to work remotely, whatever that looks like, and travel the world or live as a digital nomad. I think both can be really good options. So then is the question, what actually fits me? What would be the best thing for me personally? And I think there's a couple things that come into play with that. So it basically comes down to how much, let's say, flexibility and stress you can handle, and how much responsibility over your time and income you want to have. I think those are the main things. I think I'm quite good with a bit more flexibility and a bit more uncertainty about my income, if that means I get to have more freedom. But I also know many people for who that doesn't really work, and they'd rather have more security but less freedom. So I think that's something that you need to decide on for yourself. Okay, which is more important to me? Is it security or is it freedom? And based on that, make the decision which one that you want. And then also, of course, look at how self-motivated am I? Do I already have a skill that I can easily do online, for myself and start working for myself? Or is it maybe better for me, also for my own sake, for my own peace of mind, for my own stability, to just get a remote job? I think remote work, it's great for people who value stability, who want a stable income, who don't mind working for other people, who also don't mind being told when to work, and in general, people that are okay with having less freedom in exchange for more stability. While working for yourself, I think, really fits people who want more control over their own time and their efforts and their work, and are okay with more uncertainty. That's basically, in short, what it all comes down to. And I think it is really important to look at that critically before you decide, because I think it's very easy to go, oh, I'll just do what that person does because it works and it looks fun, and then I'm gonna do that too. But if that doesn't really match with your personality and how you are, it's just not gonna work. And I think that's also why I've seen quite a few people fail at working for themselves or fail at a remote job, just because they think it'd be nice, but then it actually doesn't really fit them, and they kind of start resenting it and they become unhappy, or it's either not enough freedom or too much freedom, and then they, get demotivated and they quit, which is a shame. So I think make sure that you pick one that fits you. And again, I just don't really think that there is a wrong decision. What I recommend you to do is just maybe look back over the past couple years. Have there been projects that you did yourself, things that you did completely from your own motivation, where you set up different projects or figured out how to make some money online or do certain things? Because when I look back personally on my life, Like I started my own tiny little business when I was 12. That was when I started, I think I started making like jewelry out of clay and then painting them. And then I brought them to school and then sold them for like €1 to people at school. And then when I was 14 or 15, I started selling my stuff on Etsy. And then I started basically reselling things until I got banned because that's not actually allowed on Etsy. So, but I mean, basically, all that to say is that for me, it was kind of a logical step to work for myself. I've always been self motivated, I've always been starting things and starting small businesses and figuring out how to sell something that I was already doing or already was good at. So for me, that made a lot of sense. But I also know people who probably wouldn't like it. So maybe look back at what would fit your personality best. If there's something that you can see, oh, I've already always done that, so I know I can do it. I'm going to do it again. Or what I also don't think is a bad idea, if you don't have that experience or you're very new to all of this and you're nervous about taking that step, don't go from a location-based 9 to 5 to the complete opposite, where you work for yourself and you have to figure everything out yourself on top of traveling full time, because that just might be a bit too overwhelming, too risky, maybe just immediately too much freedom. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with maybe first getting a remote job and then going self-employed. I think if you first find a remote job, something that at least allows you to travel and work and combine that for a little bit, see what that's like. And then while you do that, you can start working on how you might be able to set up your own business, what skill you would sell and how you would do it. Then you can slowly transition from 9 to 5 to remote work to working for yourself, if that is your ambition. And there is nothing wrong with it if that is not your ambition or not your goal. But that's how you could slowly transition to it. Because I also feel like so many people feel like, oh, if I want to be a digital nomad, I have to make tens of thousands of euros or dollars a month. I have to be incredibly successful. I have to have it figured out from the start. I need to have this super successful online business, know exactly how I'm going to sell, and I need to be good at everything. And that is just not true. When I started out working for myself, I think for the first year, I barely made any money. I was also still studying, so it was all going very slowly. But I did give myself time to grow into it, and I didn't have any real previous experience. I didn't have anyone to help me to figure this out, to know how to pitch myself, how to set up my packages, how the pricing works. I figured that all out myself, which is also why it went so slow. But yeah, I started out slowly, and now a couple years later, I'm able to do this full time and live off of my income that I generate myself from working for myself, which I am super happy about. And I know that this is possible for anyone, but only if you really want it and really enjoy it. And if you just don't think that you're made for running your own business or being a freelancer, then don't do it, or at least don't immediately do it. Do your remote work. Do maybe a couple projects on the side if you can, to figure out if you'd like it, and then slowly transition into that. I think that is a better way to do it than to think that you have to go from 0 to 100 in a month, or otherwise you can't be a digital nomad, because that is simply not true. So yeah, I think that's the biggest kind of takeaway that I can give you for remote work versus working for yourself. Of course, for me, it's never really been a question. I've always known that I was going to work for myself. I never really thought about getting a remote job. There's been a couple projects that I have taken on that have been a bit more strict about when I worked. And of course, I had a couple clients that said, oh, we really want you to be here for something. And that was all within Europe, and I was in Europe. So that to me wasn't really a big issue. But for me, that just meant I got to travel more, but for work, which I loved. And in the end, it really all depends on what kind of job you pick if you do go remote. Some companies are just so much more flexible than others. So make sure that you pick something that fits you if you do go to a remote work route. Have a look at how strict they are with hours. If you have to work in a certain time zone, for example, because that would significantly impact where you can travel to. Of course, if you have to work US times, it's going to be very hard for you to go to Southeast Asia, for example. While if you work Europe hours, it might actually be nice to go to Asia, or probably not South America, but Asia. So have a look at that. See how flexible they are in terms of hours, in terms of working days as well. I don't know how many companies will let you work in the weekends, but that would be a huge plus if they would. I have no idea. I haven't really looked into this. Okay. Just decide for yourself what is important to you. Is it the freedom? Is it the stability? Is it control? What is it? And look to past. What have I already done? What am I good at? What can I do? And based on that, pick. And don't forget, neither one is better than the other. It just all depends on what you need to make this lifestyle work, whether that's remote work, remote job, or working for yourself. Now, if you do feel like, okay, I really do want to work for myself because I want more control over my hours, over my time. I want to have more freedom and flexibility. And it is kind of like a challenge that I think I would really enjoy, because I can tell you working for yourself is great and I love it, but it's also very challenging. It's not for the weak. Generally, it can be very stressful, very tough, but also at the same time really, really rewarding. And I do think that it is a skill that anyone can learn if they're motivated enough. But if that is something that you think that's something I really would like, I just don't really know where to start. I'm very much doubting what skill to pick, how to offer it, how to package it up, how pricing works, where to pitch myself, how to work with clients, even just the interviews. If all of that makes you nervous, if you're unsure where to start, then I do have good news, because I am launching a course specifically on this very soon. It's already on my website, so you can join the waitlist there. But it's basically about all of this, not just how to find remote work, or work for yourself, basically, but also how to incorporate that with the whole digital nomad lifestyle. Because of course, anyone can learn how to make money online. And I go through that in this course extensively, like how to pitch, how to set up a portfolio, how to even pick your services and how you're going to do that. And then I also incorporate that with the whole digital nomad lifestyle, how to then actually make this sustainable, how to work remote, how to make friends, how to find places to stay, just all the basic things about the digital nomad lifestyle that can be very overwhelming and confusing when you're just starting out. And it's a whole course where we also have monthly calls where I one-on-one help you and give you feedback on things like your portfolio, your pitches. I do monthly calls again about specific topics, like how to do interviews well, how to pitch clients, how to package your prices, how to pack. It can be anything from work to travel, basically. So if that sounds interesting to you and you would really like not just guidance and more information and practical information templates, but also a community, because that's something you get with it, then have a look on my website. There's a link basically everywhere. It's just stellasantero.com. You'll find a lot more info about the course and the waitlist to sign up, so you get a discount and some extras if you decide to join. It will go live soon. I'm still working on it. It's quite a process. Every time I work on it, I'm like, oh, I can also add this or add that. And then I change my mind, and it's a process. But it's slowly coming together, and I'm already really excited about what it's going to be. So if you're curious, have a look on the website. I hope that this helped, this episode. I hope it gave you a bit of an idea of the whole remote work versus working for yourself topic, the differences mainly, but also how to pick what works for you. If you have any questions, drop a comment, send me a DM, whatever it is. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And then I really hope to see you again next week. Thank you so much. Bye bye.